Hello and shalom, everybody, all my loved ones out there. It is our Monday study time. I'm so excited to see where Father leads us today. I hope everybody's week is going good so far, since the start of Sunday to today. And I pray that it continues the remainder of the week until we get to the one day of celebration with our Father, bringing everything before Him on His day of Sabbath, a rest that we get to do, and just to join with one another when it comes down to that beautiful celebration, when you finally see that He gave us a day to go ahead and have that um, celebration with Him and all like-minded believers together. So carry on doing as much as you can through the week of um, meditating on His Word, and then look forward for that one day to just lay everything at His feet and just, celebrate with one another. But before we can, get started, let's go ahead and um, invite Him in to our hearts and our minds. This way He can help us uh, understand what it is that we are reading from Him. So that's why we can gain a better, um, a better relationship with Him, from what we see the examples of how He is with many of us since the start of who He called out from so long ago, and now we have this great opportunity just the same. So I'm let's just do that. Abba Yahweh, we come before you, giving ourselves over to your word today. Please be with us. Be a lamp unto our feet. Guide us in our understanding as we travel in our minds with your word. Help us to see you fully of how you are, and be come to a place of thanksgiving to see that how you have loved us since the start, how you have been with each and every person that you called and that you are with the whole time. So help us, Abba, as we look to your words, rightly dividing what is there to be seen, knowing who it is that's speaking, making it clear of when you speak, and then who is talking with you, or the whole situation that's happening, and also who's speaking at that point. Everything comes to that knowing, that full comprehension, when we take our time to really see what is being stated and by whom, Father. So we just thank you for your words, Abba. We thank you and we love you, and help us to retain all that we are reading. Write it on our hearts, Abba, so we never forget. So we never forget, Abba, everything that we're understanding you by. Therefore, when it comes down to looking at the other areas of what was being said in the New Testament, we know exactly what was being encouraged and what was happening, Abba, that got people so far away because they didn't take the time to look at the Old Testament, of everything that was being stated, the examples, and how many people had made your words of no effect. So that's why I'm asking, Abba, as we are taking our time to understand you, before we get to that point, to write it on our hearts so we can always think back and look back to exactly what you what relationship you had with your people. And so we can carry on and doing exactly what it is that Yeshua has spoken when we get to his words. Always pleasing you, Abba. Always staying in right standing with you, Abba. We thank you and we love you. In Yeshua's name, amen. Okay, so the 1 hour mark is going on. So, alrighty. So if we can recall, we studied verses, chapters 20 and 21. And of course, we had always recapping before we carry on. So we recapped, of course, from 19, and then we moved on. So before we move on to chapter 22, let us remember what it is that um, we knew, what we gleaned then, so we can kind of see where the story is still going. Okay, so we do have the situation of Abraham and Abimelech. Okay, I'm just reading the titles here. And we see that Abraham and Abimelech's situation in chapter 20 was similar to that of Pharaoh. And still remembering that Abraham came out of being um, with his family at one point that had a certain way of possibly living towards deities, um, their own type of customs and stuff like that, by traditions. And so father pulled him out from his people, and so now he's having to learn how to adhere to, Yehovah, the true God that has made heaven and earth. And so now we're seeing, um, how compassionate father has been with the situation of what we look to, what he thought was necessary to help certain situations, to keep him safe, and not fully have it down yet, to have father within that spirit of just being able to share freely to other people that have, a high power, um, and possibly could do some, order upon your life just because of what they're desiring from you. So there's all this things to like really think on why Abraham did what he did, and then to see how father took care of the situation, because it's even one and the same to ours. When we finally see, we get called also by father when we start reading the word and seeing that father also wants us to follow him and the truth of things, and we start to see, you know some of the customs that we've been raised in, um, are nothing biblical. It's really sad, and so our walk can be kind of like shaky, and not totally in sync with father's way of things yet, but because of his compassion, he helps you to really meditate and to look more, to search more, and he helps you along the way, so this way, you don't find yourself in a bad spot with him, because he understands. He's just revealed more of himself to you, and he understands you've given yourself over to him for such guidance. So there is that love that we see that father has towards his people. And so and then of course I shared then what I felt, uh the situation with Pharaoh being a little bit different, um by plagues, coming upon him, being somewhat a little bit different than Abimelech's situation. But then when we kind of see it, when I finally, though, when we're recapping, I can see that it possibly wasn't as different, because we do end up seeing that. Um, we do end up seeing that Abimelech also went through some type of like, um, I don't know, like a block of certain things, uh, in around his people, and so he did need to ask Abraham for forgiveness, in a sense, ask him to pray for his situation, because Father did allow, he did let Abimelech know that he has a prophet um, with him, and so he put him in that position of knowing that he needs to go to Abraham to get Father's favor to be put on Abimelech. The only difference with Pharaoh is that I didn't see that there. It's not to say that it didn't happen. It could have happened just the same, similar, and maybe just that's a piece that's not really shared. Um, but it is what it is that you read there. So you can take it as it is one and the same. And he did ask um, Abraham, to pray for him, and everything was made well. And then you can take it as that he didn't, because of course it's not there visibly to be read. So it's kind of like I said, because I kind of didn't see the plagues on Abimelech at first, and then all of a sudden it is. So then it kind of seemed like the situation is kind of similar to each other. So possibly it's just not, wasn't written down that Pharaoh got his uh father's blessing of taking away the situation. um and then of course then it came to my mind as to like, um Abraham, having allowed Sarah to go the full distance of protecting himself, and could that really be a possibility? Like I said, a lot of different cultures do a lot of different things, and especially when your life is on the line, would you put yourself in that position to protect oneself? Um, and and then of course I addressed how I saw Lot doing the same thing with his daughter, so it's not too far-fetched that you wouldn't think, you know to do something like that, like I said, because his relationship with Father was still building of trust. um and so, and maybe that could be one way to look at what came upon Pharaoh, because maybe there was, a full, um, you know, what marriage is normally what happens after you get married. So maybe there was that relation shared with Sarah, and then therefore that's why the plagues. And that's what came to mind. And then when I got to thinking on all that, um, during the week, from everything I was sharing with you guys, like how I was viewing a lot of things, there was, now, like I said, I like to look to either if there's an example that I've seen, be it by, you know, just within my own family, within, you know, what's been seen, visibly seen in the area, some type of an example is depicted, you can see it somewhere, or even like I said, sometimes even movies and sometimes even songs have truth behind what has is being displayed. Okay, so I usually, when I start to get to teaching my children, I always try to think to what either I have seen, or even like a preview, because sometimes I don't always see movies, just because I look into like what it has to offer, especially when it comes down to sexual content. I'm trying to like always protect my eyes and my mind, so that none of that plants things that go against what Father doesn't like. And so I'm very mindful. I'm more mindful now. I have slipped a couple of times, just seeing certain things that I knew weren't right, but because I wanted to see how the story finished off, I didn't forward it, or I didn't, stuff like that. But took me some time to mature as to how to keep myself holy, for He is holy. But I do try to reference examples, even if it is by commercial, because even a commercial can display so much. You don't even have to see the whole movie; you kind of already know what the conclusion is going to be. Sometimes, but I do that for my children's understanding. So, like here, I will do that from time to time with my own thoughts with you. I'll share something that brings something to what I'm trying to get at. And so, like, even with that thought that came into my mind, like, could have Pharaoh been put in a position where, he was set up for failure? Yes, because the lie was there. Um, and granted, yes, not totally a lie, because Abraham and Sarah are brother and sister, and we do see him explain himself to Abimelech of how that truly is. But with Pharaoh, he didn't get told any of that. That's not what we read, anyways. There could have been much more bigger conversation that wasn't recorded. But could it have been a thing besides me looking at Lot's situation and his putting his daughters forward just to help the situation? But in this case, it was for the life of Abraham. A movie came to my mind, and I have never seen it, but like I said, commercial wise, it made me think of the preview that it showed, and I forgot the name. Let me see if I don't really like to like reference too many movies. I'm not promoting nothing here. Totally not promoting nothing here. Because like I said, I don't want you to put yourself in a situation of whatever can take form in your mind. Um, Not that it wouldn't be on you, it would be on you, but I don't like to promote stuff in a sense to where it makes you want to go and check it out. But just because, like I said, it's just for I'm using it for educational purposes as to like what I'm trying to get at. That's the only reason why I say certain things. And it to describe it is something proposal, innocent proposal. I think that's what it was called. Innocent proposal. I'm trying to find the innocent. Oh, yeah, that's the one. No, indecent proposal. Sorry, not innocent proposal. Indecent proposal. That's the true name of it. But having seen the commercial a long time ago, um, this billionaire basically uh, shows, what can be in the heart of man if given the right um, things to tickle his ear, or to get him um, to tease his little desire. And most of the time we have been told, that power, money, and women, um, and granted for a woman would be men, um, comes at those type of temptations that more or less take down man. And so the billionaire himself ends up putting it on the table, that he would give so much money if this man who is married to this one woman, well, to his woman, of course, um, if he would let him have just one night with her. And of course, that was to go ahead and sleep with her, And so the preview goes on to show that the couple are in, limbo with it, and thinking to do it. And as more of the preview is shown, you can already see that it does end up showing that she does end up sleeping with the billionaire so that they can get the money. But it ends up working it does its work in tearing, it looks like it tears the marriage apart. But like I said, I've never seen it, but makes me think that that's exactly what ends up happening, because you set yourself up there for failure, when you think to do those things. But Pharaoh, on this hand, is not that type of billionaire where he was like, I'll buy your wife from you. No, this one was kind of like in a setup for failure because truth wasn't fully exposed. So poor guy. But that came to my mind. So things like that do actually happen. Or it can happen, by depiction of a movie, anyways. And of course, by what we see, by truth in the word of what came to Abraham's mind to do, to help himself. Okay, so anyways, let's move forward. So we do end up seeing what took place once again, of a repeat by Abraham and Abimelech being the same. And then of course we see, kind of like, I look at it as like the kindness of Abimelech, where he didn't. Of course, he probably was annoyed with the situation, but it kind of looks like because of him actually seeing and hearing, God talk to him in a dream, and then of course him sharing this with the rest of his people, bring on this fear of knowing that, a, a God actually speaks. I'm just wondering, how many of them have ever had that encounter with their own gods, besides seeing supernatural events and they associate it to their God. But of course, it actually comes from Father, but they actually saw Father, Father. He actually saw Father, Father. And so he handled things really nice, and he gave that example even to Abraham. Like, this could have been um, handled differently by you, Abraham. Like, if you just learn to communicate with me, you'll see that I have respect and reverence towards um, gods, depending on how his belief is about gods, but he saw the God. So that's kind of how I portray Abimelech, kind of showing Abraham, like, you can be, truthful with your God. He's real, and it would have went smooth. I wouldn't, me and my people wouldn't have had to go through what we went through, and it would have been respected, because Abraham did share. He goes, I said all this because I didn't think you would respect, in a sense, respect. I didn't think you guys would fear my God, in a sense. If you kind of look at the way he's stating it, he goes, I didn't think that there would be the fear of God here. And it was handled nicely with Abimelech. Uh, let's see here. Then, okay, so then we read 21, of course, and there we got to see the birth of Isaac be fulfilled, that, he came about. And then we saw where Hagar and Ishmael got sent away. Okay. And then we see where the covenant with Abimelech happened. Um, and there, once again, I kind of looked at that situation with Abimelech, like Abraham's learning how to um, learn how to, like, communicate situations, um, and trusting that he can um, be good, be all right with Abimelech. Um, um, for whatever can come into, I guess, like, what, a treaty, or in a covenant, a contract, or something like that, an agreement, an arrangement of something, because of how Abimelech like lets him know, like certain things I did not know, but come to me and we will handle these things together. But Abimelech seems to have this respect because he knows now he has a prophet among him. So all the more it looks like that respect is truly like, look, I want your protection. I want to know that we'll be safe, that you won't ask your God to do anything. Let's make a a covenant with one another. Um, just like recapping to Abraham, like, look, I've been treating you good, please do good unto me too. And so yeah, that takes care of the all the recap that we've done with those chapters. Let's move forward. Okay. Verse sorry, verses. Chapter 22. Okay, we have the title for it is called The Sacrifice of Isaac. Okay. And this happened after these speeches. Uh Jehovah was testing Abraham and said to him, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Take your beloved son, whom you love, Isaac, and go into the high land and take him up there as a sacrifice on one of the mountains that I will say to you. Upon getting up in the morning, Abraham loaded his donkey. He took 2 servants along with him and Isaac his son, and after splitting wood for a whole offering, he got up and left. Oh, just imagine. Sorry, it took me a moment just because I had to really like look at that again because I was like, did he say to take an offering or take him up as an but no, it says take him up out as an offering. Imagine hearing those by Father. He's you don't know he's putting you through a test, but you just think of you're hearing a God for your first time, probably believing on all these, deities and never once had anything ever appeared by them, and now you actually hear the voice or you see an appearance of one, and they have the answer to everything, and now the one thing he said he was going to bless you by, that it took all those years for you and your wife to receive, and now he's asking you to give back the one thing he's given you. Here I thought maybe a sacrifice, and then he was gonna tell him like, no, not that sacrifice, I need your son, like, but no, right away he told him right away, it was like, and take him up there as a sacrifice on one of the mountains. So it's like he knew already. Can just imagine what was going through Abraham's mind, I mean, we already kind of see what he was already um, trying to handle or trying to talk with Yeshua about. I look at it as Yeshua when he was talking to him about what was about to happen to Sodom and Gomorrah. We saw where he was just like, you know, would you do this if you found any person, anybody righteous? Like this can't be you. Like trying to like no, like, and then of course we see the number count, shrink down to a very small number. And he's like, would you destroy the place if there was just that little bit? So we saw where his emotions were in that situation. So now here's like a new one, presenting itself to him. What could be going through his mind at that moment. But anyways, sorry. Like I said, I think on these things as I'm reading. Okay. Upon verse 3, upon getting up in the morning, Abraham loaded his donkey. He took two servants along with him and Isaac, his son, and after splitting wood for a whole offering, he got up and left. And on the third day, he came to the place that God told him. And when he looked up with his eyes, Abraham saw the place that from a distance. And Abraham said to his servants, you sit here with the donkey, but I and the child will go on to this place, and after and after worshiping, we will come back to you. Abraham took the sticks of wood of the whole offering and set them on Isaac, his son. Okay, and so for those of you that have yet to really read the whole Bible in full, you know, cover to cover, and to know all these things, and maybe you're just starting off, you'll come to see a lot of um, correlation or similar things to reflect that of Father Yehovah's relationship even to his own son. And so there will be a lot of things that will make sense to what we go through, or you know what they went through, similar to what Messiah. And I put we because even our own lives reflect certain things that Messiah says, that what he's gone through, what we've gone through, he's gone through. And so every story kind of reflects to what came about by Father's hand, even with his own son. And so, of course, we see on that walk on, it's Mount Calvary, right? Mount Calvary, that Yeshua had he was carrying the Golgotha. Okay, Mount Golgotha. Oh, Golgotha. Okay, sorry. I always have to look to the hubby sometimes to help me, because unless I go and search it, then I don't always have it down. But I recall what I've heard it as one, so I say Mount Calvary. But my husband's pointed out that Golgotha, when he was walking on that, he was carrying his cross. Okay, so Isaac is depicting Yeshua here, and Abraham is showing what it would be like, what it was going to be like for Father to allow his son to be that living sacrifice. So we see a lot of that, um, to be appreciative, to see what it is that came about, in the promise of Yeshua when we get to his story. Okay, but I just thought to throw that out there. But right now we're focusing on the story at hand, Abraham's situation. Okay, so verse 6, Abraham took the sticks of wood of the whole offering and set them on Isaac, his son. He took also the fire with his hand and the knife, and the two proceeded together. And Isaac spoke to Abraham, his father, saying, Father. And his father said, what is it, child? Isaac replied, saying, look at the fire and the wood. Okay, so Isaac's taking a notice here. Something's clicking to him, like what? Like what? Okay, so look at the fire and the wood. Where is the sheep for the whole offering? Okay, so he's wondering, like, I see what you have, Dad, but so he, He's already seen when his dad does offerings, he knows that there's an animal involved. That's why he's having these questions. Where's the animal? You know, Abraham said, verse 8, God will see to a sheep for a whole offering for himself, child. And going together, they came to the place God told him. And Abraham built an altar there and placed the wood. And after binding the feet of Isaac, his son, he placed him on the altar upon the wood. Can you just imagine? Let's just pause there for a moment because, oh my gosh. Just imagine you just asked your father that question, and you've seen what he does. You've seen what your dad does when it comes down to sacrifices, to offerings, and you're noticing there's no animal, and then your dad tells you that God's gonna provide. And then all of a sudden your dad takes you by the feet and binds you and puts you on this wood. Like, wow. I could just imagine um, the emotions from both of them. What's going on? Okay, verse 10. And Abraham stretched out his hand to take the knife to slay his son. Kind of just makes me wonder, like, what you could be hearing from your own child. It's just like, even like whenever I've seen um, my own children about to get their spankings because they know that they've gotten in trouble. Okay, this is nothing to do with that, um, of any type of chastisement, of course not. But I'm trying to look at, like, when my child knows. Okay, and here we know Isaac is knowing something, this is happening to me, and what fear could have came over him. And I just know, like, my second son, I'll use my second son the most, because my first one, when he's gonna get belted, he's always been one to, like, he just toughens up and deals with it. Like, okay, I'm ready to get what I know I I was warned I was gonna get, and I'm deserving of it. So he takes it strong. But my second one, even though he knows he shouldn't have done what he did, and we warned him, and this spanking's coming upon him, he gets into, like, this panic mode, and he starts to, like, cover himself up, and he's just like, no, 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 like, he's like scared, and tears are rolling down his face, and he's like, he wants to fight it, like, he doesn't want to be, punished by this spanking that's about to happen. I'm just, like, wondering, like, what's going through Isaac's mouth, or nothing at all. Especially if it's depicting Yeshua, and Yeshua got those lashes. It says that he didn't make a sound. So, and maybe Isaac was like how I see my firstborn, like, he just takes it, doesn't know what to do. He's not that my son doesn't know what to do, but he just takes it. And could that be Isaac's situation? Just makes me wonder. It's just like, even when I remember going for my first time with my husband to go and get a goat that we're going to have um, in dedication of the Passover meal that we were going to do, that Father asks, tells us to do, the Passover. And I told my husband, this time around, I wanna go and experience that. I thought I was gonna be able to handle it, to see an animal be put down, and then just thank Father for the provision of it, and just see how it's done. But I kid you not, I could not. As soon as the rancher was going to um, take the life of the animal, I had to turn. And but before I got to that position of turning, you can see like this animal doesn't take notice. He has nothing. uh he doesn't register that the gun is in the rancher's hand. It's just there having fun, still making his little um sounds, his animal sound, and nothing. It's not until the shot that I heard that it penetrated, that can you hear the animal now screaming in this cry, this agony. And I'm trying not to cry. It just gets emotional just even thinking about that situation and knowing what Yeshua went through, you know, but it doesn't register, it doesn't register. It doesn't know that that gun is meant for it. And this just makes me wonder what was going through Isaac's mind as he was being, you know, bind, bound for what was supposed to take place. And then to see your dad pull out this knife. Wow. Just takes me a moment, but wow. Okay, verse 10. And Abraham stretched out his hand to take the knife to slay his son. And the angel of Jehovah called him from the heavens and said to him, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. And the angel of Jehovah said, Don't lay your hand upon the child, and don't do anything to him, because now I know that you fear Jehovah, and you haven't spared your beloved son on account of me. Okay, so here this angel is saying, on the account of him. So Yehovah can also take on, I guess, like this understanding of angel like. And so that's why I think the angel is also um Yeshua, Yehovah, um not that I don't think that Yehovah and Yeshua look different than any of the other angelical beings, I guess. But then I kind of, maybe I had once thought that. But anyways, here we see Father talking to him and telling him, um, you know, that he sees, that he truly reverences him, he truly fears him, and he wasn't going to spare even the one most thing that was precious to him, the one thing that he waited for a long time to give back to Father. You know, there's a lot that Father wants to see out of all of us, you know, to see if he does hold that strong of a love to give up even what we hold valuable for him, you know. So here we see that example even by Abraham, and how Father, I guess, must have seen that his love can be the same even for us as humans, that we are even deserving of him sacrificing Yeshua for that love. Because of that demonstration by Abraham, he saw that, what, humans do love me. This human being that reflects all of us. Abraham is done it for us all to show that we love him. Now, granted, a lot of us have failed to live like Abraham before Father like that. But he is our example of how we should show Father. And in return, Father gives us the same reciprocated love, you know, and that's why he sent Yeshua to us, and sacrificed him for the love of us. So, yeah. Let's see here. Verse 13. And when he looked up, Abraham saw with his eyes, and look, one ram being held by the horns in a sebek. Okay, and there we see the letter A. I found it. Um, and it's a transliteration of the Hebrew term meaning thicket. Okay, thicket, bush. Sebek, bush, a thicket bush. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a whole offering instead of Isaac, his son. And Abraham called the name of that place, the Lord saw. So that they say today. So that they say today. Okay, so everybody knows that one area or that place that took place is called the Lord saw. Okay, so that they say today, the Lord appeared on the mountain. Okay, so he named it that, so that they say today, the Lord appeared on the mountain. Okay. Verse 15, and an angel of Jehovah called Abraham a second time from the heavens, saying, by myself I swear, says Jehovah, because you did this thing and you did not spare your beloved son on my account, I will indeed surely bless you. Okay, so here there's a little letter B by the word bless on verse 17, and that just says literal, if indeed blessing, I will bless. Okay, if indeed blessing, I will bless. So I will indeed surely bless you. And I will surely increase. Okay, and there's a little letter C by the word increase. Literally increasing, I will increase. So if indeed blessing, I will bless, and increasing, I will increase. But I do think it's easier to read it the way it's already written down here. I will indeed surely bless you, and I will surely increase your offspring like the stars of the heavens and like the sand from the seashore. And your offspring will inherit the cities of their enemies. And in your offspring all the nations will be blessed because you obeyed my voice. And that's more or less from all that. That is one thing that needs to stick with us. We are to obey Father's voice and to know that He doesn't give us more than we can handle. He doesn't give us something that He won't help us through it. You know, we just have to know, give ourselves over to reading about who He is and understand that sometimes things just only come by a test and hope we pass it. You know, when people don't know these things, people have so much different attitudes with Father that cause them much more damage uh, in the truth of it, by the truth of it, because they see a certain situation that's presenting itself, and rather than going to His word where it's like, oh, okay, I know I got this, it'll be all right, He's gonna see it through, they go into like, you know, He's not real, or how could He, or a blaming kind of thing, and then it just provokes them more on anger and just allows it to happen. So all the more you get more annoyed. So there's just so much things that I've come to learn in my walk with Him, and not um to stress so much, and know that not everything is what it appears to be, you know, of what what's there, like if it's going to remain. um but yeah, So out of all that, this is what it is. That father was so happy that he obeyed his voice. And then look at all the promise that he was told that he was going to get blessed by more offspring. Okay, verse 19. Abraham returned to his servants, and they got up and went to the well of the oath. Okay, and that well of the oath, we saw where it was mentioned in verse 21, that he named having come into a covenant with Abimelech. Okay, so that's where they went to, the well that he dug, that he wanted Abimelech to know, like, I dug this, so therefore it is mine. Okay, and Abraham settled at the well of the oath. Okay, verse 20. It happened after these words, and it was reported to Abraham, saying, Look, Milcah. Okay, so now it's going on to something different from what we just read. So before I continue on, I just want to kind of reflect on, like, what could that have done to Isaac, you know, with his mind, with his dad after saying that. Like, don't get me wrong, I know he is happy now to see that, um, what his dad promised, that father would provide a ram. But before getting to that point, well, wonder what his mind would have been like, just with his dad having, could he finally get to that understanding point with his dad, knowing that, he was only being obedient to father? Or could he have gone through an emotional state, like, how dare he, or how could he, just makes one wonder. But for all that he has probably seen his dad talking with father, and then of course the proof of the ram came, I want to, you know think that that would have had a bigger impact, that Isaac would have said, like, God is real, and fought. My dad had to do what he had to do, but look it, I didn't go through death. It was just my dad was being tested, getting to that understanding point, rather than something like holding of a grudge or an anger that, how dare he, kind of thing. And sometimes father will use those in your life, you know to bring about, um, a test result. And others just don't know that they're just also a part of his plan for, the person at hand of the test. So you just might not know that you're being put in someone's, story, and you might be holding on to something that doesn't, uh, it wasn't meant for you to be upset about. It was just something to bring along something, um, you know, to show father in the end. But anyways, I just wanted to think on that. It's like, wow, how would I have handled that if my dad would have got my legs and put me and seeing that knife close to coming towards me. Anyways, now let's carry on. Okay, so, verse 20. It happened after these words, and it was reported to Abraham, saying, Look, Milcah has herself also borne sons to Nahor, your brother, Uz the firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Camille, father of the Syrians, and Ch- Chesed, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. and Bethuel fathered Rebekah. These are the 8 sons which Milcah bore to Nahor, brother of Abraham, and his concubine, whose name was Reumah. She also bore Tibah and Gaham, Gaham and Tahash and Makkah. Makkah. Okay, and so I'm guessing that when we started to read, even at the start of chapter 22, it says, and and these happened after these speeches. And if you can recall from chapter 21, we just saw the conversation of the covenant being made with Abraham and Abimelech. And so now it's saying, and after these, and and this happened after these speeches. And then here we see by verse 22, and it says, and it happened after these words, and it was reported. So I'm guessing that it's kind of like saying, like, here's something new, like a new, now it's shifting from this one thought, so it doesn't like flow right into like, okay, and after Abraham left Abimelech, he went to, you know, this one area, and God started speaking. I think it's now, it's like, okay, now you knew that, now here's this. Okay, so after those speeches, now this occurred with Abraham. Okay, and so now on this part, it's saying, and it happened after these words. So now, after knowing what happened here, now this is new to Abraham. Now he's being reported of the events of his brother. So, so it doesn't like flow. If that makes, I'm hoping I'm making sense. Um, so it kind of makes it that much easier to like know what happened section by section with Abraham, what events happened. And so in here now, what we read of Nahor, his brother, having children, now we can see like it also mentions the the names of even like a concubine, and or even like a word concubine. So now we can see like certain traditions, certain things that um, were a custom or acceptable, of how the Chaldeans, what Abraham was kind of raised in, what was acceptable, their the way they went about their lifestyle. So we could see you can have a wife and a concubine. Okay, and so all these things are just little things to like point out, because when we get to certain parts of the laws, we will see certain things as to why Father said, and this do not do, because he's making us into his people, and what he is approving for our lifestyles. Okay, so what was once is not so when you come into him, into him and his kingdom and what he's about. Okay, so we just see what he pulls many of us from, and then now when we come into him, what we are to adhere to. So I just have to point that out. Okay, let's see if we have any more time. 6 more minutes. I've been kind of speaking along the way of everything, to my thoughts and insights um, are looking at much more strongly. So it's not like I would just say let's stop there and let's go ahead and just talk on everything, because I've been sharing as I read. So what I can do is just keep on reading and just go where it's at, and then we'll pick up again at chapter 23, because we're going to recap anyways. And so let's just carry on. Okay, so chapter 23. The life of Sarah was 127 years. Okay, so now it shifts into the title Sarah's Death and Burial. Okay, so there was just a small piece that was mentioned um, about Abraham's other brother, Nahor. Okay, and what where certain tribes come from them. So okay, so we see that Camille, okay, it was mentioned that he's the father of the Syrians. Okay, so now we kind of know where these like locations could put even Abraham's other relatives. Okay, now 23. The life of Sarah was 127 years, and Sarah died in the city of Arbach, which is in the lowland. This is Hebron in the land of Canaan. Okay, this is Hebron in the land of Canaan. Arbach. Abraham went to grieve Sarah and to mourn. And Abraham rose up from his dead body, and Abraham spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, now before I carry on, see where we can see this word where it's saying, and Abraham rose up from his dead body. How could that be so? It's not his dead body, and how can you rise up from your own dead body unless you're a ghost? No, it's referring to his wife from his wife's dead body. Unless his grieving felt one and the same to dying, there could be that thought. But the only reason why I'm pushing this out more towards like from his wife, her being deceased, her dead body and him rising from it is because when we got to when I got to explain how um, Ham, Noah's son, okay, uncovered his father's nakedness, okay, and it wasn't Noah's true nakedness, because like I said, when we get into the laws, my husband has done a teaching where it proves more that it when father's talking his nakedness, and maybe right here even his dead body, it's meaning the spouse of him. Okay, because when you get married, you become one accord, you're one and the same. Okay, you've came out of Adam, kind of like that kind of thought process there. So that's why I'm taking it as that from his dead wife's body. Um, Kind of that type of understanding, if you can see where I'm coming from. But it makes a lot more sense when we get into the laws and how it's spoken there, that's what it means to me. Like I said, we could look at it as, and Abraham rose up from his dead body, it being like a grieving thing, and so therefore he feels dead alongside her. But I take that as just his wife's dead body. Um, okay, but let's move on. Let's, verse 3 again. And Abraham rose up from his dead body, and Abraham spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, I am an alien and a sojourner among you. From among you. So give me a property for a grave among you, so I can bury my dead there. The sons of Heth answered Abraham, saying, no, Lord, hear us. You are a king from a God among us. Okay, so no, Lord, hear us. You are a king from a God among us. Bury your dead body in our finest tombs, for none of us will withhold his tomb from you to bury your dead body there. Okay, so to bury your dead body there. And so right there we see that now they're making it more distinctive. Okay, so from it saying that, and he rose up from his dead body, um, to it now saying your dead body there. So like something that he had, which was her body. Um, verse 7, Abraham got up and bowed to the people of the land, the sons of Heth. And Abraham spoke to them, saying, if you have it in your soul that I might. Okay, and that takes up time. Okay, so we stop right there, and we'll just continue. We'll get to starting that chapter back up when we get back to it by next Monday. But that takes care of it for our study time. There's a lot to think on with you, Abba. This is what it is to have a comforting walk with Father as you meditate and you think and you kind of wonder how things were when it happened and put yourself in that position, both in what Father must have been thinking or doing, what was going through his mind by it, and what was going through the person's mind by it, by hearing this and being put through it, and just, and then of course then you reflect on your own situations with Father in moments, and you think, I wonder if I have been doing all right in your sight. So there's just much that it's a comforting journey. It's a one that's like, also at the same time like, but it's just, that's where a relationship happens with Father. He wants to see how we respond, how we react, and then how we just go about um, staying devoted with him. But anyways, that takes care of our reading. I hope it got you to think yourself and to stay encouraged, by, you know, how you can have that connection with Father yourself. Is, it's not hard. It's not hard to read and to look at these things and to journey with Father. So, anyways, I will continue reading with you guys by next Monday. Let's go ahead and pray and tell Father thank you for what He's shown us today. Abba Yahweh, I come before you giving you thanks, my thanksgiving for what I have gotten to see by your word. What I glean, Abba, from seeing this small piece, even though so much was thought on it and so much can, um, you know, could be seen in this way or that way. And so, despite the fact that it was one chapter that we only really got through, there was just so much to really meditate, to really think on things about you, the whole what's there, and just to conversate on with you about. But from all that we saw, the one thing I'm gleaning is that just to understand that certain situations that you give, Abba, are just a test, and you're hoping that we are going to just obey you and know that something, you have something in mind. You have something in mind. You just want to see that we're going to show you that you are worth You are worth our giving, whatever it is that you ask of us. And sometimes it won't even be that thing that you are actually asking for. You just want to see if we're going to, you know, fulfill it. We're going to go through with it. And that's all you want to see. And then that's what pleases you, is when we listen to your voice and we obey. So may we continue, Abba, to see you in all these examples, so that way we get better and better at um, proving to you we want you in our lives, and we're willing to do anything you say, and to show you also that you have our full trust. So we thank you, Abba, and we love you. In Yeshua's name, amen. Okay, beloved ones, may you all have a blessed remainder of the week, and I hope it's rewarding with much more fellowship during it. I don't know if you all have any groups out there, that you get together with people, but there's so many you know siblings out there in Messiah, that if you have yet to really put yourself out there, to know that you're not alone in this journey, and you know um you need to put yourself out there. You'll come to see that uh you'll get together with people even during the week, and just to keep each other always in the light of Father, always keeping each other encouraged and coming to study, and then you can never get enough. You just want more and more fellowship time with Father and with your brethren that you make. So yeah, I don't know if you have one out there, but there's many out there. Get yourself out there. Um, but other than that, I hope you have a wonderful Sabbath rest in Father, and enjoy your time with Him and whoever you're around. And I will see you next Saturday. Love you all.